Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Rebekah Roberts.
And I'm Yochanan Elrom.
In our top story, Israel has lost a strong advocate and faithful supporter with the passing of Joni Lamb, president of the Daystar Christian television network. 65-year-old Lamb died May 7th from what was described as serious health issues. Joni and her late husband Marcus founded Daystar TV in 1993. The organization became the largest Christian television network in the world, broadcasting to 1 billion homes in over 200 countries. Joni Lamb was presented with the Israel Allies Award in 2024 by the Israel Allies Foundation for her unwavering support of the Jewish state. Josh Reinstein, president of the Israel Allies Foundation, described Joni as a true hero, a courageous defender of Israel, a passionate prayer warrior, role model for Christian Zionists, and a friend.
The Israeli Knesset voted to create a special military tribunal to try Arab terrorists accused of committing atrocities on October 7, 2023. The measure passed by a vote of 93 in favor and 0 opposed. The new law calls for the establishment of a special court within the military justice system to try approximately 300 terrorists captured in Israel on the day of the massacre. The legislation allows the tribunal to charge the attackers with any and all applicable crimes, including genocide, under the regulations of Israel's 1950 law for the prevention of genocide. The day of the massacre, nearly 6,000 Palestinian terrorists, mostly members of Hamas, invaded Israel and slaughtered 1,200 men, women, and children. The bloodthirsty mob also abducted 251 hostages, taking them back to Gaza and committing other crimes, including rape and torture.
Israeli security officials believe the United States is considering moving forces to Israel from other countries in the region. The news site Israel Hayom reported that this assessment is based on the fact that, unlike other Middle East countries, Israel does not impose restriction on U.S. military activity. During the Iran war, the two militaries removed mutual barriers and have seen unprecedented cooperation. Washington is said to be drafting a new Middle East policy that may recommend that the U.S. maintain a permanent military presence in the Jewish state.
The Israel Defense Forces built a secret military base in a remote location in the desert region of western Iraq. According to the Wall Street Journal, the facility was created in February to support the Israeli Air Force's bombing campaign in neighboring Iran. The base was home to special forces troops and search and rescue teams that might be needed to extract any Israeli pilots that were shot down. A local shepherd reported unusual military activity to Iraqi authorities in March. Israeli forces launched airstrikes against Iraqi troops who were sent to investigate the site. The IDF response succeeded in deterring Iraqi soldiers from any further probing of the area. Baghdad officials blamed the United States for the attack. However, the U.S. was not involved in the operation. Israeli authorities have declined to comment on the Wall Street Journal report.
Costa Rica wants to move its embassy back to Jerusalem. The Central American country's new president, Laura Fernandez Delgado, met Israeli President Isaac Herzog earlier this month, expressing her desire to relocate Costa Rica's embassy to the undivided Israeli capital. Herzog traveled to San Jose to attend the inauguration of Fernandez, and relations between the two nations are on the rise. 2 decades ago, Costa Rica moved its embassy out of Jerusalem to Tel Aviv, following international pressure, mostly from Arab states.
Time may be running out for Hamas in Gaza. Israel and the Board of Peace are prepared to resume military action against the terror group. Michael Eisenberg, an advisor to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, told Fox News that if Hamas leaders fail to uphold the BOP agreement, they will be attacked and driven from the coastal enclave. Eisenberg said demilitarizing Gaza is a central principle of the framework. Hamas agreed several months ago to the 20-point plan, which stipulates that the terror group will surrender their weapons and will not be allowed to serve in any future government. However, the terror group has reneged on the deal.
Israel's foreign ministry has announced an exciting new plan to bring 8,000 young Christian leaders to the Jewish state by the end of this year. The program is described as one of the most significant public diplomacy initiatives in Israel's history. The agenda calls for participants to spend 8 days in Israel. 5 of those days will involve touring the Holy Land from the north of the country to the south. The young Christians will visit mixed Jewish Arab cities, historical sites, and areas damaged by the war. The last 3 days of the trip will include wide-ranging briefings on key issues Israel is facing. The goal of the foreign ministry is to build a global network of influential young people who will return home with a deeper, more grounded understanding of Israel.
Jews in Canada are urging their government to declare the Palestine Action Group as a terrorist entity. The call was made after the radical pro-Palestinian organization published a target map with sites in Canada, Europe, and the United States as possible targets for what is described as direct action. Their online site lists hundreds of addresses of companies and homes around the world. The group's underground manual encourages people to create cells and disrupt, damage, or destroy targets.
A 400-year-old mystery was solved recently when Israeli archaeologists discovered the tomb of the prophet Amos near Tekoa. Amos is mentioned in chapter 1, verse 1 of the biblical book of the same name. He was a shepherd who received visions from God. His tomb was a significant pilgrimage site for Jews and Christians from the 4th century of the Common Era until the 17th century, when visiting the grave became too dangerous. As time passed, the exact location of the burial cave was forgotten. Popular belief placed the tomb in ancient Tekoa, but researchers now say the prophet Amos was buried 2 kilometers away in Qasr Antar. The new location is based on descriptions by Jewish pilgrims in the 15th century who described a church built over the ancient burial cave. Arab antiquities robbers have caused significant damage to the site, but Israeli conservationists are working to restore and save the historical heritage location.
Jan Koum, the co-founder of WhatsApp, has donated $200 million to Shaare Zedek Hospital in Jerusalem. The financial gift is the largest philanthropic contribution in the history of Israel's healthcare system. The funds, which will triple the size of the hospital, will be used to build a new inpatient facility. It will also include housing for medical staff. Shaare Zedek is an independent hospital, not affiliated with one of Israel's healthcare funds. It relies on general support to expand and update its facilities. The 50-year-old Koum was born into a Jewish family in Ukraine. He helped develop WhatsApp in 2009 and sold it 5 years later for $19 billion.
Israelis young and old came together last week to celebrate Jerusalem Day, commemorating the 59th anniversary of the reunification of Jerusalem in 1967 as Israel's undivided capital. One special event held at the Knesset featured senior Israeli leaders, members of Knesset, international legislators, ambassadors, and Christian leaders to affirm their strong support for Jerusalem. It highlighted the growing movement of faith-based diplomacy committed to upholding Jerusalem's historical and biblical significance. Member of Knesset Danny Luz, chairman of the Jerusalem Caucus, said Jerusalem is not only the eternal capital of Israel, it is the beating heart of the entire Jewish people. Josh Reinstein, director of the Knesset Christian Allies Caucus, had words of praise for the chairman of Israel Allies Caucuses around the world for coming together to mark Jerusalem Day.
The Israeli government has once again approved a large-scale project to restore the ancient Samaria National Park in Sebastia. 28 million shekels has been earmarked for archaeological preservation, tourism infrastructure, and public accessibility at the historic location in northern Samaria. Conservation of the site will focus on the remains of the palace of the evil King Omri, mentioned in the Bible in 1 Kings chapter 16. It is also where King Herod built a magnificent amphitheater. Yossi Dagan, head of the Samaria Regional Council, praised the decision to preserve the ancient capital of the Kingdom of Israel. He said the work will also stop the Palestinian Authority from trying to erase Jewish historical sites through neglect and looting. That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein, and we're here in our beautiful studio in Jerusalem. My guest today is Dr. Yoram Weiss. He's the Director General of Hadassah Medical Organization. Dr. Weiss, thank you for being on the show.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
Tell our viewers a little about what is Hadassah Medical Organization?
So Hadassah Medical Organization is an organization that was founded many years ago, about 100 years ago, and it focuses on three things: on medical education, research and innovation, and providing the people of Jerusalem the best medical care. No matter what their religion is, no matter what their nationality is, we are here for the population all over the Middle East.
Hadassah is a storied brand. Everyone knows Hadassah in Israel, and you have some of the top doctors on the planet. Yet in the last 2.5 years, there's been a real uptick in how many people you have to treat because of the war. How are you handling that?
I'll surprise you and I'll say that the number of wounded we had to take care of because of the war is not so significant. What we had to increase significantly is the care of rehabilitation to our patients that were wounded in the war. And this is an effort that we embarked on immediately after the start of the war, and we opened the Gandel Rehabilitation Center in Mount Scopus, which we are extremely proud about, which is the most advanced, both in the size, but also in the quality of care and the facilities that we provide for rehabilitation here in Israel.
This was a really big story when you opened the center during wartime because there were injured warriors who needed help and they were having to take buses to Tel Aviv and they couldn't get it locally. What are some of the activities that you're doing in the center?
What we were able to do within 3 months from the start of the war is to take a building that was basically just concrete and sand. We were able to open 2 clinics for inpatient care. And the most important one is we will open 2 treatment swimming pools for physiotherapy, which are the most advanced in the state of Israel, with extremely advanced facilities to allow handicapped patients to be brought in and out from the water in order to provide them physiotherapy while they're in the water. And this is very important because patients that are wounded in their limbs have a problem of weight. And these are some of the facilities that we have, both in water and also specific parts, equipment that we brought from the States and from all over the world to allow us to treat these patients.
I think that the statistics we're getting are a little inflated on those who are injured during war. In the last war that we saw with Iran during Operation Roaring Lion, they said 6,000 to 7,000 people were injured. But the large majority are people who are running to their bomb shelter who fall, who have anxiety. There are only about 120 to 150 really serious injuries. How many of these people are actually hospitalized?
The number that we have are pretty significant. We have a few thousand severely injured patients in Israel over the past 2.5 years. And this is, and some of them are really becoming handicapped and they need significant assistance. And this is what we're trying to do in this center, is really to create a rehabilitation environment for these patients. But I should say, the rehabilitation center is not only for soldiers. It's for any person in the population of Jerusalem, the greater Jerusalem area. And we treat everybody. And as you said before, and it's true, before that, most patients that needed rehabilitation had to travel to the Tel Aviv area to be treated, and today they can get it close to their home.
What is the split on that? How many of the patients, percentage-wise, are soldiers who are injured in battle, and how many are civilians who are injured during the war?
So in the first few months of the war, it was about 50-50. Today, it's about 10% soldiers and the rest are civilians.
And what about the issue of anxiety and mental health? That gets a lot of play in the media. Is that something that Hadassah tackles?
Yes. We have, first of all, we have both a psychiatry department for adults and for children. And we are one of the first medical centers in Israel that had a pediatric psychiatry department with a lot of facilities to treat post-traumatic stress disorder. We have a lot of experience. To remind you that unfortunately Hadassah was a major player during the Intifada when the buses and restaurants were exploding here in Jerusalem every other day. So we gained a lot of experience with post-traumatic stress disorder, and we are indeed using this experience we had to treat these patients today. Now, indeed, there is stress. There's stress both in kids, and I should say even in the last few weeks with the war with Iran, when we had missiles coming over, there's no doubt that there's stress for kids that have to run from the shelter in and out because of sirens. So there's no question that there's an intervention, and there's a very good system that was put in place in Israel, but especially at Hadassah for wounded, where we intervene immediately on each patient to check their psychological evaluation after injury.
Christians are supporting Israel like never before. Is there a way that Christians get involved to support Hadassah? What would be the most effective way to help with this situation?
Any one of you who wants to support Hadassah must understand that, first of all, you support an organization that is here to treat any person, no matter what his religion is. That's the first thing. And the other thing is to get in touch with our offices all over the world and to contact us. And our offices will provide you all the information. And the moment you are supporting us, you're becoming a member of Hadassah, a lifetime member of Hadassah, and you are a partner of us. And we'll share you the information and we'll provide you a lot of pride of what's being done here, both in treating patients, both in the innovative research and innovation that we're bringing to the world, and also in the medical education that we're providing to people both here in Israel and abroad.
Dr. Weiss, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
So any one of you who wants to support Hadassah needs to understand that Hadassah is the biblical name of the Queen Esther. Queen Esther was very important for all of us in the message of peace and healing she brought about. So each one of you who wants to support Hadassah, please go to our website, hadassah.org. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart and the bottom of all our supporters all over the world for you joining us in supporting our organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Weiss, for being on the show. And thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
And now the truth from Zion.
On the night of June 21st, 2025, the United States attacked Iran's rogue nuclear facilities. In one of America's most decisive operations, the U.S. military targeted the heart of Tehran's secret atomic program. Precision strikes hit Fordow, Natanz, and the Isfahan technology complex, the core sites where uranium was enriched and advanced centrifuges were built. The message was unmistakable. Under President Donald Trump's leadership, the United States would not allow the world's leading state sponsor of terror to obtain a nuclear weapon. Iran's nuclear ambitions are not new. They go back to the time of the Shah, when the West first introduced reactors in the 1970s. After the 1979 Islamic Revolution, the Ayatollah's fanatic Shiite regime created a secret nuclear program. It began working with black market networks to acquire centrifuges and design plans. By the early 2000s, hidden sites at Natanz and Iraq were exposed, proving that Iran was lying to the world regarding its atomic ambitions. In 2015, the Obama administration signed the disastrous JCPOA nuclear deal. It handed Iran billions of dollars in sanctions relief while leaving its enrichment capability intact and providing Iran with a clear path to the bomb. President Trump understood the danger that existed. In 2018, he withdrew the United States from that disastrous agreement, reimposed maximum pressure, and proved once again that peace is only possible through strength. Iran responded to the pressure by accelerating its work. Underground complexes were expanded, centrifuges advanced, and enrichment pushed to levels near weapons grade. By 2024, intelligence made it clear that Tehran was weeks away from nuclear breakout. Combined with a massive missile arsenal and proxy militias across the Middle East, Iran was trying to build a network of intimidation. President Trump realized that waiting was no longer an option. The June 21st attack on Iran was executed with overwhelming force and precision. Stealth bombers flew undetected across Iranian skies, delivering the massive ordnance penetrator, the world's most powerful bunker-busting weapon to destroy deeply buried centrifuge hulls. Submarine-launched Tomahawk cruise missiles slammed into command centers and support facilities. Electronic warfare blinded Iranian radar. Within minutes, the most sensitive sites of Iran's rogue nuclear program were burning or buried under tons of rubble. Speaking from the East Room of the White House, Trump called the strikes a spectacular military success, saying Iran's key enrichment sites were completely and totally obliterated, and he credited unprecedented U.S.-Israel coordination for the result.
Prime Minister Netanyahu took the bold and brave decision to destroy Iran's nuclear aspirations. But without the courage of President Trump to send in the B-2 bombers, we could not have completed the mission.
Tehran's response came fast. Iran fired large waves of ballistic missiles and drones toward Israeli cities and strategic sites. Israel's defenses, the Iron Dome, David's Sling, and Arrow, knocked down the vast majority. However, some projectiles managed to get through. At the same time, Iran also targeted U.S. assets in the region. On June 23rd, it fired ballistic missiles at an American Air Force base in Qatar. President Trump moved quickly to restore calm. Diplomatic channels pressed for de-escalation on America's terms. A ceasefire was reached within days. Trump's doctrine proved true. Strength deters war, while weakness invites it. Inside Iran, the clerics who claimed invincibility were exposed as vulnerable. For years, the regime boasted that its nuclear sites were untouchable. In one night, America proved otherwise. And when Iran tried to answer by striking Israel, Israelis met the challenge. For ordinary Iranians, the military conflict was another reminder of the regime's cruelty. Nuclear facilities were deliberately buried under mountains near towns and villages, turning civilians into human shields. The brief war delivered more than just a successful military result. It changed the political reality. Tehran's bid for nuclear blackmail was shattered. Its people were reminded that their rulers are not omnipotent. And the free world was shown once again that America under President Donald Trump is willing to act. America's strike on Iran's nuclear facilities was more than a military operation. It was a turning point. It proved that when the United States leads with strength, enemies step back, allies step forward, and a safer future becomes possible. From Jerusalem, this is the truth from Zion. Up next, shining light from Israel.
Here in the hills of Judea, in the capital city of Jerusalem, Yad Vashem is Israel's eternal memorial to the Holocaust. This beautiful building behind me is Israel's memorial to the 6 million Jewish people who were murdered in the Holocaust. And this underground building, scarring this mountain of memory, we learn about the history of what once was the great Jewish cultures of Europe, how most of those cultures were destroyed, and how yet the Jewish people still live, and how we have a land that we didn't have before the Holocaust. A visit here will also include talking about those incredible people who stood up for Jewish people, righteous among the nations. Visitors will hear names, will see sights, and will really come to understand what our museum means. Yad Vashem, memorial and name. This is a museum dedicated to the individuals. A visit to Yad Vashem will take the visitor on a journey of not only the low points of humanity, what the price of hatred and silence and indifference is, but also the heights human beings can reach. A small group of Jewish people were able to fight back with arms against incredible odds, fighting back not for freedom and fighting back not to defeat Nazi Germany, but fighting back for the ability to decide their own fate. And we also remember another type of resistance, which we call spiritual resistance. The Nazis could not break the Jewish people, and the Holocaust Jews still made art. They still prayed to God. They still educated their children. They still tried to find meaning in a world which seemed devoid of all meaning. And we talk and celebrate those things here at Yad Vashem. 6 million Jewish people were murdered in the Holocaust. The Nazis wanted their names to be erased, the fact that they were human beings to be erased. And in this incredible new experience, we have gathered together almost 5 million known names of Holocaust victims. Each one of these names is someone's beloved mother, a dear father, a beautiful baby, a daughter, a son, a beloved uncle or aunt. Each one of these names is all we have, and each one of these names restores the humanity to those people. It's what makes this experience so incredible, and I think so important and so necessary. The Nazis wanted to wipe the Jews out, that there should be no memory of them. And this enormous book is almost like a cemetery for people who have no earthly grave. Each name here shows us they didn't succeed, and each name here ensures that these people will never be forgotten. But there are also empty pages, because even the names we don't know have a place in our memory. They are the presence of absence. And if you look through the book, you'll notice there are empty pages waiting to be filled. We know they probably never will be filled. Almost 1 million people are completely gone, lost to history. But here at Yad Vashem, they have a place. And by looking at these blank pages, we remember, even if their names were wiped out, that we remember them as human beings, and we will make sure they are never forgotten. A visit to Yad Vashem also teaches us that every person does have the ability to stand up, that as bad as things may be, as dark as the world may be, that every person has the ability to bring in light. Each of these names, of these righteous people who stood up for their fellow human beings, their Jewish friends, neighbors, or even total strangers, fills us with a feeling of hope. We can stand up. We can be the people of light and not the people of darkness. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be waiting for you when you come to Israel. Please come and join us and see Yad Vashem with your own eyes and be part of history.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Rebekah Roberts.
And I'm Yochanan Elrom, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.